the problem is
Right.
the thing that you need in order to become who you're going to be, or for the organization to shift to be who it needs to be.
Right.
That
Yeah.
this is almost like a sacred space. If we can, like the heat's getting turned up, don't jump out of the pot.
Have you ever been so tired you can't sleep?
Can't do it anymore. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just pure exhaustion and realizing that you weren't having your best ideas. You weren't speaking life into people in the way that you wanted to, that you were just doing things, but not working strategically.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inner Work, the Collective Growth Podcast. I'm thrilled to be able to welcome Jennifer Limas today to the show. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Marianne. Happy to be here.
Yes, we're so glad to have you. Jennifer is the CEO of Girls Inc. of Tarrant County, a nonprofit here that inspires all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. And I'm so fortunate to have been involved in Girls Inc. as a board member and as a supporter, as a champion for a number of years. And just want to thank you, Jennifer, for all the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Marianne. You, Marianne, you led through some of the most difficult times. Our board chair during COVID. I think you had just started your chairmanship when COVID began. But it was also an exciting time where we got to think about things differently and how do we serve families differently. So really feel like we have gone through some war times together.
That's right.
And seen it to the other side and gotten to celebrate that.
That's right. And grown
Right.
together, which I love.
Yes, absolutely.
Done the inner work. Well, since you became CEO in 2012, you have helped grow the organization to serve over 18,000 girls annually. And also, a lot of people don't know that there's a co-ed licensed childcare and an out-of-school time program through a parallel organization called Tarrant County Kids.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Tarrant County Kids is, it's a DBA that has been part of Girls Inc. of Tarrant County since the late 80s, so long before my time. And it began in Arlington ISD and has since grown to like Worth ISD, with Uplift Academy, and other charter school systems.
That's wonderful. And as a working mom, that after school care, it's difficult enough as a person who, and having a partner with a steady income, it's like finding the right resources for people who may not have family here, resources. The work that you all do is so incredible.
Thank you. I heard a startling statistic the other day that children who are in after-school programs, be it something like Tarrant County Kids or Girls Inc. activities or others, experience 6,000 times more enrichment hours out of school time than children who are not in enrichment programs. And those enrichments include literacy, STEM building activities, learning those social skills and how to engage with one another. And so it can just be so impactful when kids are in those programs.
It really can be. And if you compare what they're experiencing there versus what they would be experiencing at home or in the street in front of their home, that's a stark difference.
Correct.
Yes. Well, thank you. And in addition to this incredible and important work, you also serve on the Workforce Development Board and the Arlington Mayor's Education Council. And you've been honored as a Great Woman of Texas by the Fort Worth Business Press.
Yes, ma'am, I have. Thank you.
Thank you for all that you are.
It's an honor to be in this community. It really is.
Well, we really do have so many incredible leaders and amazing women who are passionate about the work they do, show up day in, day out. And, you mentioned COVID, but they're trying times right now, right?
Absolutely.
In terms of the economy, how we run nonprofits. We're in the middle right now of a government shutdown. And, how we respond says everything about what we're going to be able to accomplish moving forward.
Yeah, we really are very lucky to be in a community, though, that is so collaborative, both men and women, but just coming together to share ideas, to share perspectives, I think I take it for granted because my entire professional career has been right here in Tarrant County.
Yeah.
However, when I speak to my peers across the country and learn how they're working in silos in the social service industries, but also maybe not engaging with their educational institutions or corporations, like we have the opportunity, and even municipal leaders are so accessible and care
That's right.
so much about the health and wellness of the citizens, and particularly the youngest citizens of Tarrant County. And so we're really lucky
We
to be
are.
in this community.
We are.
Yeah.
We're very blessed and at the same time have our own challenges that we
Yeah.
work through, which
Yeah.
brings me to, I think we'd love to hear a little bit about what's going on. What is your leadership world right now? What are you focused on with Girls Inc. and beyond?
Yeah. So we're definitely at a time where we are seeing community needs shifting. We're seeing people really struggling with seeing different perspectives about what is important for youth, for our community, for our economy. What are we prioritizing? At the same time, the economy is getting tighter and prices are rising for families. And so to navigate all those things and to look at it through a lens of how do we work smarter and how do we expand our impact, because our community is growing, but also the needs are growing with it. And so this isn't a time that we can shrink back and say we have limited resources. This is a time that we are really going to have to sharpen the tools that we have to be able to meet those needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're experiencing, it's like they say, the only constant is change. But whatever change we're in feels like the most difficult change.
And so elongated. It just feels like for the last 5.5 years, it has just been one thing after another, and
No.
we have pivoted ourselves dizzy.
Yes, that's right. Well, and is that our perception,
Mm,
or
yeah.
is that real? It seems as though the cycles are tighter.
Yeah, and I would imagine that it's the pace at which the world is moving, perhaps the pace that we're allowing ourselves to move with the world. Um, One of my past board members, or current board members, when you past board chairs, Brittany Christian used to say to us in board meetings all the time, I'm sure you remember, if everything's important, nothing's important. And it feels like right now it's taking a lot of discipline to not say everything's important, because everything
Yes.
feels so important right now. But to have that discipline to step back and say, what is really going to move the needle, and what is really going to keep our organization healthy, our leadership healthy, our teams healthy, and to be discerning about that, because the cycles are tighter, and the stakes seem higher.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we talk about on inner work is what has changed for us
Hmm.
in the context of leadership, in terms of expectations we had or understanding of ourselves, or what were those moments that created a different way of thinking for us. Is this scenario right now one of the more impactful or easier to identify things that are shifting for you? Or is there another time in your leadership that really changed your perspective?
Well, I seem to be a person who likes to learn the same lessons over and over.
Yes.
Um, and so I think that what I am having to remind myself. Are you relating to that, or?
Yes. 100%. Yes. Oprah says
I
it just
have
comes
deja
around
vu
again.
all the time and think, haven't I already been through this?
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Oprah says it just comes around again wearing different pants.
100%, 100%. I think, when I think back to our time together during COVID, I spent way too much time at the kitchen table, trying to solve problems that maybe weren't ready to be solved yet. And I remember my husband telling me that I'm not the chief doer officer, that I don't have to continue working harder and harder and harder, and do more, and to take some time to take care of myself, to invest in how we're going to problem solve. And I'm in that season again, I think, where I am having to remind myself of the strength of the team around me, that they have the tools to do this just as well or better than I do, and to empower them to do that. And so that, and many times in between then and now, I'm sure I have had to remind myself of that lesson. But that is something that, as a Enneagram 3, as a woman, I think, who has always pulled herself up by her bootstraps, that I am having to let go of that doer mentality and empower others
Yeah.
to lead the organization to success, and me present a clear vision, present the resources that they need, and to clear the pathway.
Yeah. You mentioned too many evenings around the kitchen table, but what was it that led you to this realization? What was happening for you?
I think just pure exhaustion. Have you ever been so tired you can't sleep?
Can't do it anymore. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just pure exhaustion, and realizing that you weren't having your best ideas. You weren't speaking life into people in the way that you wanted to, that you were just doing things, but not working strategically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And often those efforts, there's a sense of relief in the busyness of
Yes.
just doing, getting it done. Like if there's a known quantity and I can control that and I can wrap my brains and my arms around it, then there's
Right.
some safety there. But
Right.
where we burn out, we wear out, that it stops yielding the same result that it
Yeah.
did at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you disempower the people around you, because we are surrounded by people who want to make an impact also.
That's right.
I am not the only one who is making an impact for this mission. In fact, I'm not the most important one who's making an impact for the mission. That is the people working directly with the girls and the families and the children that we serve. And so it can disempower the people who need to be doing that important work.
Yeah.
And growing in their leadership.
Absolutely. What did it clear up for you around your role in pursuing mission?
What did it clear up in my role in pursuing?
What clarity? Yeah. What clarity did it give you?
Yeah. I think that if I'm doing, it's really difficult to be presenting vision, to be learning about what the needs are of the community that we serve, learning where we can make the most impact, synthesizing the data of our impact, talking to community leaders and learning what they're seeing, bringing the resources in. When I'm usually doing the things that other people can do, and distracting myself from the work that only I can do, which is presenting vision.
Yes, that's right. And one of the principles I work with leaders on is only do what only you can do.
Yes.
And
I've heard you told me that. I'm sure that's where that came from.
Yes.
Yes.
But that is hard. There are so many things that come up for us emotionally around letting that go.
Yes.
Right. Not just trusting somebody else to do it, but this sense of, well, now I'm really free to do what I'm meant to do. And I might fail.
Right.
Right. That now I've got clarity around what I do to support this mission. And sometimes people may experience, I don't really want to do that. I like doing.
Right.
Right. And I'm grateful that's not where you've been, but getting clarity brings us to a decision point that sometimes usually is really uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes. It really does. And it's so much more comfortable to slide back into what
Yes.
we've done before, what we already know we're good at, to take
Yeah.
it out of somebody else's hands. And
Yeah.
I can do that for you rather than to step out into the unknown
That's right.
and lead in those spaces. But that's the only way forward. And that's the only way to true growth personally and for my organization.
Yeah. As
Yeah.
you've switched your focus and really disciplined yourself in a lot of ways to stay focused on advancing the vision of the organization, what's changed for you in how you see the work of Girls Inc.,
Mhm.
in how you see the space that you fill in the nonprofit landscape?
Mm. Well, the first thing is that when I have allowed other folks to lead in operations, it has broadened the scope of what we have done because they have broader visions. They have beautiful visions of how we can expand our STEM work, how we can develop parent engagement, how we
Mhm.
can do things in a way that is different than how we've ever done it before. So that's the first thing is just that it has opened up the scope so big. The second thing is that it has allowed me to have the time to connect in the community and with stakeholders, whether that's corporations or educational institution leaders, to learn what the needs are and for them to learn about the impact that Girls Inc. of Tarrant County is making, the impact that we are making with the families and giving parents the tools and just having that symbiotic relationship and being able to bring that back to the team here who is working with those families and developing the programs.
Yeah.
But also, we've just seen our brand grow exponentially during that time because I've been able to, others have been able to be out in the community, giving folks the tools to talk about the impact.
That's right. Well, and you, again, that's an area where you're uniquely equipped as the
Right.
person. You've got people in leadership roles who are able to see from a higher vantage point, but a lot of people embedded in doing the work. And
Mhm.
it's important that they are doing that. They're operationally focused, serving the girls, serving the kids,
Sure.
and for you to give them that space by handling the broader conversations is something
Mhm.
only you can do.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And with that listening ear too, because I know you've got to work from a marketing lens and a fund development lens on the messaging and talking about programs in a compelling way to funders. But there are also things that you hear from them
Right.
that may waken you to opportunities or to needs in the community that you wouldn't see if you were head down doing
Correct.
the work every day.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just and looking at what our partners in the community are doing also, and where is the collaboration there, whether that's with healthcare institutions or other nonprofit partners, and how can we expand the scope and offer more to the girls and more access for them to see more of the community. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting this visual of kind of looking through a microscope versus looking through binoculars.
Yes.
And that's been a journey and a shift that can't really happen until you operationalize and create really a self-operating organization.
Right. Right.
And so there's the putting the reps in, right? But there's also respecting the time that it takes to get there to where you can look through binoculars.
Exactly.
Hey, noticers, if you're dreaming of glowing, healthy skin, you must try Hana Azul Korean skincare. Myung Chong has been transforming skin for 27 years with facials so good they create the Hana Azul glow. I've been going to her med spa for years and my skin looks better than ever. Her products use medical grade ingredients that truly nourish your skin and keep it radiant. Visit hennaazul.com to explore her amazing products and services. That's HANNAISUL.com. Now go get your glow.
The other thing I was going to add when you were saying that was putting the infrastructure in place. So you were on the board when we really spent a lot of time saying we cannot continue to grow without putting this infrastructure for the organization in place. And so
That's right.
it is just I think, a natural instinct for people in the nonprofit sector to want to put every dollar towards delivering the mission. But we had to become really disciplined to say, as we grow the number of people in our program department, we also need to grow our HR department, our
That's right.
onboarding, our training, our finance department, who is managing payroll. And as the team's growing, we need to have people there. Managing the operations team and making sure that we had people taking care of facilities to support the team. And so that took some discipline to put those things in place to ensure that the organization was running with integrity, but also keeps our mission not only running smoothly for the future, but also keeps that quality in place also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you've gotten to spend more time looking through the binoculars and taking
Yeah.
a look at the bigger picture, what have you seen change in the landscape, or what have you wanted to make sure that Girls Inc. didn't miss?
Mm. So for me, it's really watching how the community's growing. I felt like we were a little bit at behind the ball when we watched growth towards the south of Fort Worth and how it quickly turned from rural to urban school districts and communities very quickly. And we didn't have the youth service infrastructure in place to serve those communities. And so when we look at that same level of growth happening up in Northwest Tarrant County and beyond, Wise County and others, thinking about how do we stay ahead of that curve? How do we begin building relationships now? How do we begin speaking to the needs and getting to know the leadership that's in place in those school districts, in those cities and towns, so that we began building our programs out as their population and the communities grow and we can be responsive to needs, not responding to the needs after they've happened.
Yes. Yeah. And that's learning from our past mistakes,
Mhm.
right? And looking forward in a way that honors that there wasn't someone making the choice to not act, right?
Correct.
It's like
Yep.
we're using every resource we can and doing our best as
Yep.
organizations and as people all the time. But
Right.
that's the beauty that 2020 hindsight gives us
Yep.
is
Yeah.
we can start to put those patterns together and say, okay,
Right.
wait, we didn't know any better before. Now we
Mhm.
know better. So what
Correct.
can we get out ahead of?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I think
So,
the other thing oh, go ahead.
well, what does that mean for? So if you see that need, then it's not like you start a new service line, like you're a business. And so you increase revenue here in order to pay for that thing.
Yep.
When you see those, you may be a year or two away from receiving funding to meet that need.
Yeah.
How do you address that?
Well, for us, it's building relationships. It's building trust with those communities. It's talking about the impact of the programs with the school districts. So sharing the impact that we make in the school districts that we're serving now, and how that impacts those school districts' attendance and on-time grade promotion, and the differences that we've been able to make within those systems. For families, it's about sharing with families what we do, who we are, and the services that we provide. And so building up that brand and providing programs to them so that they begin to see what is possible. And then, as you referenced, as we have the resources, then beginning to move into those communities in a more robust way. But first, it's just that first introduction and getting to know one another and building trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I know when you're doing that, you're looking to say, how does this action, how does this relationship fall within our purpose, right? Making sure that it's mission aligned.
Yeah.
But what's the relationship between purpose and programming, and how do nonprofit leaders know where to put emphasis or focus?
Yeah. So I think that the most important thing is listening. So as we're out in those new communities or even the communities that we serve right now, because needs shift along the way. And so, what I think is really important, sometimes we can get nostalgic about how we've done things, about what has worked, even about specific events and how those events have happened. And so, the important thing for me as a leader to remember is to set some of that nostalgia aside and to ensure that as we're listening to the needs of the communities or the families that we're serving, that the programs and services that we're providing are truly being responsive to what those
Mm,
needs are and truly being responsive to what the youth and the families will need in the future, and moving the needle there.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And being willing to pivot,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
as you did, as you began learning some of these leadership lessons around being more vision oriented and less operationally oriented, right? It's
Yeah.
still all important, but where is more of your time? Where's more of your focus?
Yeah.
And as you made that shift, were there any beliefs about leadership or about yourself that you
Yeah.
had to let go of?
Yeah. Um, so one of my new board members was sharing with me about the railroad fallacy recently, and
Mm,
I had never heard this story before. Um, but he was sharing with me that um, when airline travel really began to rise in popularity, that the railroads companies they didn't really pay much attention to it. They didn't have much focus on it because they believed that their business was the railroad. They didn't
mm,
have a focus necessarily on that their business was transportation
rotation,
uh, rather than railroad. And had their focus been on, we're in the business of transporting people and goods, uh, then they might have changed their focus a little bit. And they might have leaned into the airline travel because nobody was more set up for success to support airline travel than the railroad companies were because they had hubs, they had their infrastructure um, already in place, but they stayed focused on railroads. And as he was sharing this with me, he was sharing this with me to say, don't get so focused on that nostalgia.
mm,
Uh, how we deliver the mission, how we serve families, how we empower youth. But remember that we're in the business of giving families the tools,
mm.
empowering youth to succeed. And don't get so married to the processes, the programs that make that possible.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
powerful.
that rings so true to me. And then also, we know that so much conversation over the last 20 years around evidence-based practices.
Yeah.
Do more of what works, do more of what matters. And I
Yeah.
think we take evidence-based practices and we believe that it's the structure that they operate within,
Hmm.
when really it can be much more fluid around the concept, and the practice itself could be delivered
Right.
differently.
Right, right. Well, I think one of the big pieces that we've thought a lot around this is parent engagement. So
Mm,
parent engagement for so long has looked like the same thing, right?
yeah.
Parent nights, parent activities, sending out newsletters. We've kind of had a copy and repeat with parent engagement. But we took the time to really listen to what parents needed and how that was shifting and what was relevant to them. And what we heard from them was that they wanted a voice in the parent engagement. They wanted a third place. They didn't want to just come to a meeting and learn information, but they want a third place when their children are at programs to fellowship with one another. They want to be able to share information that they know. They want to be empowered to do the work and to advocate. And so we've made some shifts. Yes, there is evidence based. Yes, parents need the information. We shouldn't let go of the things that have worked, but we should also listen to, because the world is quickly evolving, of how we can make more of an impact. And since we've listened and made those shifts, we've seen monumental changes within our parent engagement.
That's huge.
Yeah, it really
And
is.
thank goodness for people who think differently
Hmm.
and are willing to put to words some of the struggles that we feel around because there's, you use the word nostalgia, also there tradition, right? Tradition is so there are many things. It's like both things are true. There are many things that are so important for us to honor and respect and carry forward, and then also question, when is it time for us to shift?
Yes. 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 Another example of that is Day of the Girl. We just had Day of the Girl celebration last weekend and it looked different.
No.
And for me, that was tough because I remember the 10 years of Day of the Girl before and what it looked like before. But her
Yeah.
team was ready to shift. We've been doing entrepreneurship camps for the last
Mhm.
couple of years. Our
Yeah.
girls wanted to be part of the marketplace and to be able to showcase their goods that they had been working on, but still also have a rally to highlight the power of a girl and the DNA and the character of a Girls Inc. girl. And so they found a way to interweave those two together in partnership with Texas Wesleyan University,
Yeah.
where we got to host it. And it looked completely different, but it was beautiful to let it evolve into something new. And the really phenomenal thing was having it on Saturdays when parents and families could be there to celebrate with their girls.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
it's possible to hold both at the same
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. What
Yes.
was it like to see the team engage in this shift, and
Uh-huh.
what were some of the results for them?
It was really fun to see them empowered. They to see them meeting their goals, to celebrate meeting their goals, to take ownership of what they were creating with the girls and families. And for me, there was, just echoing back to what we talked about at the beginning,
Mhm.
trying to quiet that voice of remind them that I'm here if they have any needs, if I need to provide any resources or clear a path for them. But otherwise, the best thing I can do is to get out of the way and let them thrive and plan this. And it was different than anything I would have ever imagined. And it was beautiful. And it was beautiful. And it was a success for the girls and their families.
That's huge. Well,
Yeah.
and, we may be the engine as a leader
Yeah.
that gets things going, but we can't sustain it.
Right.
There's got to be, and that's what you did by humbly offering this to them, is if I'm running it, it's all me. It's probably gonna stay the same because there's something, we just get locked into it. It's
Yeah.
like our brain is thinking of it this way. I mean, even as I heard you talk about it, I could imagine we're listening, right? As you brought up
Right.
several times. We're looking at how we meet the need differently. The girls today are different than the girls 10 years ago. What do they need? What do they desire? And when you are really allowed to think of it that way and generate these new ideas, you get re-engaged.
Yes, yes. That is a really wonderful point because they are completely different. The
Yeah.
families are completely different. Our community is completely different. But when we hold on so tightly, miss the opportunity to evolve where we can make the most impact. And that is true with being responsive to their interests, but it's also true in being responsive to what the academic needs are for kids in our community. What the academic needs are today are
Yeah.
different than they were 10 years ago. And so to keep our eyes wide open and being ready to shift where we can make the most difference.
Yeah. How long did it take you? I think this is the kind of thing that we probably are continually working on the rest of our lives. But from the recognition of I've got to change how I'm operating as a leader
Mhm.
to getting the reps in to now saying I really feel comfortable setting the vision and allowing my team to act. What was your runway on that? How long did it take you to really start making that shift?
Yeah. Um, well, I think with any organization, everybody's at a different level of experience and where they are in their professional development. And so there are some folks that have been doing this for a while, and it's easy to trust
Yeah.
that they know what they're doing, that they know the reports that are due every month. And there are others who are newer or maybe even more resistant to what success will look like. That it is harder to figure out what is the balance between accountability and staying out of their way. And I think that that's the times where it's really tempting to hold on tightly.
For sure. And
Yeah.
and what do you say to yourself to encourage, to coach yourself to re-release?
Yeah. Um, Well, I think that we have lots of balls in the air, and some of those balls are made out of rubber, and some of those are made out of glass. And
Mm.
so, really identifying what are the glass balls, and so those are the things that you do have to stay more closely connected to, even with somebody who is a trusted team member, or I'll even have team members checking in with me to say, this was a glass ball that I needed you to follow up with. I just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure you
Yeah.
did. None of us are infallible. And so, so just knowing what's glass and what's rubber,
Yeah.
and letting natural consequences happen with those rubber balls, but checking in on the glass balls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. I love that, that analogy too. It's 'cause the glass balls are the high stakes things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we've gotta have high accountability around. We've gotta give this a team effort, and
Right.
we are keeping each other in check
Right.
around moving this
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the rubber balls are great practice opportunities for
Yep.
people to it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to drop it. It's gonna bounce back up and we'll
Yep.
catch it. It's
Yep.
the recognition. Yeah, I'm gonna add
And
that.
we're falling forward. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah. For, nonprofit leaders, for-profit leaders, just people in the community, also in times of change and uncertainty, what would you offer as an anchor in this time for them?
Mm. Yeah. Um, well, gosh, I hope you have good editors because I'm thinking a long time about this anchor.
This is good though. This is how we have to let things come to us.
Yeah. I think that it is surrounding yourself with a team and with systems that you trust.
Mm,
And to trust those and to step out and embrace the things that only you can do.
yep.
Give yourself the same grace to fail
Mhm.
forward that you give other people too. Um, during this time, I would say that constraint, sometimes we get all tied up in knots about it, but truly it can sharpen us.
Mm.
It can teach us how to work smarter, and to prioritize the things that are really going to make an impact. And so during this time, don't be troubled. Be encouraged, that it is going to make us personally and our organizations and our businesses better, as we work through these times.
That you're reminding me of, and I'm can't think of the exact saying, but basically that the challenge is the source of opportunity.
Right,
The problem
right,
is the thing that you need in order to become who you're gonna be, or for the organization to shift to be who it needs to be.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This it's almost like a sacred space. If we can, like, the heat's getting turned up, don't jump out of the
Mhm.
pot.
Yes.
Hang in there and believe that this is a part of the process of becoming better, rather
Mhm.
than seeing it holding us back or destroying us or preventing us from it's the obstacle is the way.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Exactly,
The
exactly. And
feet.
I think, going back to the railroad analogy, it's not about the tracks.
Yeah.
It's about moving people forward.
Mhm.
And so during times that may seem more challenging, that we're having to re invent or re-engage and figure things out, it is always about our mission, our product, the people, and moving that forward. It is not about the tracks.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
such a great is it a metaphor or analogy? I always get them confused. Whatever it is, it's good.
I don't know what it is either, but he told me that story 2 months ago, and I think I've thought about it daily since
That's the
then.
power of
I
and how life is so interconnected and what we can learn from the past. I
Right,
mean, it's all here for us.
right, right.
Thank you so much for spending this time visiting today.
Absolutely. Thank
It's
you,
incredible.
Marianne. Thank you for
Yes.
your service to Girls Inc. and to so many other organizations. One of my favorite things about my job is being able to work with the board of directors and each of the different lessons, and perspectives that I learned from different people. But you have just always brought such great strength and insight, not only to me, but my entire team. And so thank you for the work that you do
Well,
here on the podcast, in your coaching, but also the volunteer work that you do. You make us all better.
thank you so much. Let's close out with a quick fire. Love to hear
Okay.
from you because I know you are a learner. You're
Yeah.
always scanning the environment and opportunities for growth. So what is a book that is a guide for you, maybe even what you're reading right now? What is a value that guides you and a
Mhm.
daily practice that
Mhm.
sustains you? So a book, a value, a practice.
Okay. Okay, so a book, I have just got the membership to Masterclass. You know how you always see those
Mm.
commercials on
Yes.
social media?
Yeah.
And so, I love a good audiobook, but the Masterclass has been even better for me because it's taken some of those authors and they just tell it in more of a storytelling type setting. So I've really
Love
been
it.
enjoying that. And I just finished listening to Michael Lewis. He wrote Moneyball and
Yeah.
some other
Mhm.
talk about storytelling.
Oh,
And also listen to the author of Atomic Habits, diving back into
James
that. I think
Clear.
that's like
Yeah.
every 3 years, we all need to remind ourselves of those consistent habits. So
That's
I've
right.
really been enjoying both of
Masterclass.
those.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I've been on that, like, almost clicked on it. I don't know, like 53 times. I'm like, no, I need to go to bed. But okay, now I know. Next time, just click.
It's really enjoyable. Okay, and then a value and a practice, you said?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. A value for me is honest conversation. Um, when something is troubling me, I really feel most comfortable just having a rumble with somebody and talking it through, or being curious with somebody and talking it through. But I think just honest dialogue, that is a value for me. So curiosity is what I would
Right.
anchor that in. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then a practice, getting outside.
Yeah.
I spend so much time in buildings and meetings that I really try to make it a priority daily to get outside, not necessarily for a run, but definitely to get outside, to feel sunshine,
Yeah.
to take a walk. It really just makes me feel better at the end of the day. Or sometimes in the middle of the day, you'll see us having walking meetings. If you are driving down Vickery, you may see the Girls Inc. team outside having a walk and having a walking meeting.
I love that. It's a wonderful way to clear your head, reset.
Really is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those are I'm inspired by each of those. So thank you.
Of
Awesome.
course.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. And thank
Oh,
you to
thank you.
everybody for joining us for Inner Work. We've gotten to have a great chat with Jennifer Limas of Girls Inc. of Tarrant County. And Jennifer, I'll see you again soon. And everybody, please like and share our content. Those of us who are big fans and champions of Girls Inc., please be sure to share Jennifer's wisdom in your network. And we'll see everybody soon.